Former White House Communications Director for President Trump, Anthony Scaramucci. All right, Anthony, what do you think about that?
Well, it's politics in America. That's probably politics globally. There's a level of hypocrisy that takes place, and so you and I know the cliche that when are politicians lying is when their lips are moving, and
Right.
so we know that, and so. But I do think he was playing to his audience, and that's what politicians do. He's a very good orator. He's got the best smile in American politics since Jack Kennedy, and so he's able to use that to good effect. But I think he is making a mistake. I think President Bush is correct that we should probably get out of the presidential president-to-president denigration business because it's bad for the presidency, but it's also bad for the United States. We don't need to be doing that. And I will just say this, and you probably feel the same way. I have a lot of international business. When I'm off the shore of the United States, I never criticize President Obama or the Obama administration. We're all Americans, and so I think it's an unfortunate thing to be doing over there.
Do you think the president, because I don't think he has any self-awareness, do you think he realizes the toll he took on this country when it came to race relations, when it came to the economic wage stagnation, when it came to our foreign policy? Does he get that there are a lot of people in this country that think what he did overseas and domestically took the United States a decade backwards?
So let me slice into one of those things and hit it very hard, and that's the economy. And so what I really do think is that he had left-leaning policies, and he had never really run a business or made payroll like President Trump has done. And so what ends up happening is you don't realize how bad these left-leaning policies are until you're actually in business. George McGovern, you remember George McGovern, the great senator that ran against Richard Nixon? He opened a bed and breakfast after he left the Senate. He couldn't believe the regulations that were in place, and he went out of business after 2 years. And you can go Google this. It's a Wall Street Journal editorial. He wrote an editorial and said, my God, if I only knew what I know now about business, I would have never voted for all those regulations.
We should make Bernie Sanders open up a coffee shop.
All of that crazy stuff. So you know, the president was misguided on the economic policies, and so what you got to give President Trump huge credit for, he gets the economic policies right. He goes 10 for 10 on economic policies. And look at the African-American unemployment rate. Look at the Hispanic-American unemployment rate at historic recorded lows.
Yeah, and the numbers are great. And the president actually addressed that.
He goes, you know, race, I want to leave alone.
Yeah, that's right. He goes, just because the economy's humming doesn't mean everything else can go to hell. And I think the president today, President Trump, thinks he can get away with anything because the economy's good. But people and his enemies nitpick on the little stuff that doesn't really matter, that doesn't affect the average American's life. But I want to talk about civility because we just talked about it at the top. And our friend Judge Jeanine Pirro went on The View to sell a book that she's been hawking, and it got a little feisty. Here's an exchange with Whoopi Goldberg.
I'm 62 years old. There have been a lot of people in office that I didn't agree with, but I have never, ever seen anything like this. I've never seen anybody whip up such hate. I've never seen anybody be so dismissive. Here's my question for you, because you talk about, I don't have Trump derangement. Let me tell you what I have.
Okay.
I have a lot of, I'm tired of people starting a conversation with Mexicans or liars and rapists.
But you know what's horrible? When people who shouldn't be here end up murdering the children of American citizens.
You know what's horrible? When the president of the United States whips up people to beat the hell out of people. Say goodbye.
All right, so they cut to break, and then allegedly she gets booted off the headquarters, booted off the studio lot afterwards, and all hell broke loose. This isn't supposed to happen. You invite someone on your show, you're supposed to treat them with respect. She wouldn't even let her answer the question. This is par for the course, I think.
Well, I would add something that I give the judge huge respect on this front. They added Anna Navarro to the show, and so what usually happens on these shows, you go 3-on-1. You know, if I'm on Bill Maher's show, it's like 6-on-1. You know, and so what they did was they didn't think they had the firepower there to handle her, and so they brought Anna on.
Yeah,
and so
Anna's a CNN.
It's like
liberal.
4 liberals. You know, Megan is obviously not a liberal, but you know, so it's 4-on-2 if you want to say it. But
sure.
But I think her book, which we didn't mention, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals,
right.
That's a pretty tough title for a show like that.
They were angry
okay?
just reading the
just
title.
reading that. Okay, wait a minute. There's a couple of us may be on this book title. You know, so
right.
I was like rough. You know, and I don't say they're leakers or liars, but those are very liberal people.
Very liberal people. And
yes.
you went on that show. Did they treat you with any respect, or was it kind of out of the gates they tried to hammer you?
Yeah, they were coming full. They were coming at me very hard in the beginning, and then I would say to you that the second show I went on, and this is what I find always happens, Jesse, when people meet you and they all of a sudden realize that you're not the caricature that the liberal media is painting of you. You're not
right.
that two-dimensional figure, but you actually have a family. You're a nice guy with a reasonable sense of humor. They have to relax a little bit. And so what we need to do in our country is less demonization and more personalization, and just relax. We're all Americans.
Right.
Why don't we take a chill with each other?
So when
play a little beer pong.
That's right. And Anthony and I are going to be playing beer pong against the 2018 national champs at the end of the show. So stick around for that. Anthony's been getting loose in the green room.
Yeah,
so
very loose.
He's very loose. A little too loose. We got to tighten that up.
Very loose, and my belly's empty, so I can drink all that beer.
That's right.
Non-alcoholic beer.
Of course. You know, there's a lot of policies
exactly.
in place here. So Maxine Waters, speaking of Whoopi Goldberg's disrespectful behavior, Maxine Waters, who, as we know, called for people to be chased out of restaurants, you know, get in their faces, run them out of town. There was a little counter-protest that never materialized outside around her office out in California, but a bunch of her supporters showed up, and you know what they did? They burned an American flag. Maxine Waters' supporters burned an American flag and chanted, "America was never great." Now, to say that Maxine Waters is the face of the Democratic Party, as Donald Trump has said, I think is just a devastating political blow to them in the midterms, because she is really hurting the party. And the more and more she does and says and her supporters act like this, the worse it's going to be in the midterms.
Well, I mean, listen, the violent stuff is also nonsensical, but I'm red-letter guy as it relates to the flag. I think you have to stand for the flag and not burn the flag. And I think there should be some level of unconditionality of love for the country, even though people have faced discrimination. Italians have, Irish have. Obviously, the African-American community came in bondage, which is a horrific stain on the nation. But we're moving forward, and we're making progress, and we're trying to make things fairer for everybody in the society. And so this sort of behavior, I think, sets us back. And I think it sends a symbol that we're not thinking about it as a community. Okay, the flag represents all of us. Don't step on it. Don't burn the flag. And by the way, we have many men and women have died for that flag.
That's a great
over
point.
242 years. And so, and we have many men and women have been wounded as a result of fighting for our freedom. Stepping on the flag is uncool. Don't do it.
Do you think that Maxine Waters has a responsibility to come out and condemn the supporters who are in her district, outside of her office, burning an American flag? Because I think she should say something.
I do, but she won't do that because she's going to play to that base of people.
That's a fringe base, Anthony.
She's
burning the flag.
But here's what these guys have done. The people on the fringe, as she represents the fringe, they know that stoking anger and getting people riled up, they will show up at the polls, okay? One of the things that President Trump said before the election, which I remember thinking, he said, if they're waiting for me for 8 hours in the rain to hear me speak in an arena, don't you think they're going to show up on November 8th to vote for me?
And they did.
So there was a tremendous amount of passion and emotion related to the election. They were really trying to reject the return of Clintonism.
Right, but it's a passion
she's
based
doing it
on,
in the opposite
It's
effect.
a passion based on policy that they like from the president.
Love of country.
And love of country.
Yes.
And these people, although I would say that's passionate, a lot of that's passionate hatred.
Hatred.
And disrespect.
I agree with that. And so I think people, the best way to make change is if you've got something you're upset about, let's litigate it, let's argue about it, and then let's win at the ballot box. Okay,
or we will win at the beer pong table.
I got guys that don't like my support. We're going to win at the ping pong.
Because,
let me tell you something.
Because we're playing beer pong later in the show.
If we don't win at the ping pong table, we're going to go out so gloriously. You and I are going to ride into the sunset together, Lone Ranger and Tonto.
There's no way we're losing.
It's just going to happen.
It's not happening, all right?
All right, amen.
All right. The return of Barack Obama, that is the subject of tonight's Waters Words. The former president has been relatively quiet since leaving office, but popped up in South Africa this week. You could tell Obama was angry that his legacy has been erased. He lashed out at the man who did the erasing.
Unfortunately, too much of politics today seems to reject the very concept of objective truth. People just make stuff up. We see the utter loss of shame among political leaders where they're caught in a lie and they just double down and they lie some more.
We all know he's calling the President Trump, a liar. But President Obama, have you no shame?
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
There is no spying on Americans. We don't have a domestic spying program.
There are neighborhoods where it's easier for you to buy a handgun and clips than it is for you to buy a fresh vegetable.
Now, to be fair, all politicians bend the truth. Some are just smoother than others. But Barack, you lied about terror attacks, your tax policy, your scandals. The difference? The media covers Trump's fibs and covered up yours. Speaking of the press.
The free press is under attack. Censorship and state control of media is on the rise.
President Obama didn't attack the press as much as Trump does. He didn't need to, because 90% of the media was on his side. And there's been more fake news about Trump in 1 year than there was in 8 years under Obama. Let that sink in. Let's not forget, though, when Obama went after the media, he went pretty hard. You know, he spied on reporters from the AP and Fox News, constantly attacked this network. The Espionage Act, he used it almost more than any other president combined to go after reporters and leakers. And even the Washington Post said it was the least transparent administration of all time. But President Obama told his audience in Africa, "We are living in strange times."
They are strange. And they are uncertain. With each day's news cycles bringing more head spinning and disturbing headlines.
I remember being disturbed at headlines during your administration. Remember? Our president bows to foreign leaders. Racial riots all over streets across America. A rash of domestic terror attacks. A young woman shot dead by a deported illegal alien felon. The worst economic recovery since World War II. And remember our president laughing, golfing, and fist bumping after an American was beheaded? It's like Obama's got no self-awareness at all. Here's another example.
You can be proud of your heritage without denigrating those of a different heritage.
I guess Obama doesn't agree with his own pastor.
Oh, I am so glad that I got a God who knows what it is to be a poor black man in a country and a culture that is controlled by and run by rich white people. He taught me, Jesus did, how to love my enemies. Jesus taught me how to love the hell out of my enemies.
Barack Obama was married by that guy, Reverend Wright. And he sat in those pews for 20 years. But now it says Trump gives license to bigotry. Recall the media spiked this picture of Obama with Farrakhan. Total hypocrisy, which leads us to this.
There's only so big a house you can have. There's only so many nice trips you can take. I mean, it's enough.
Is it, though? Here's Barack Obama enjoying a tropical trip on billionaire Rich Branson's world-class yacht. And here is the $8 million mansion that the Obamas purchased after leaving the White House. Notice how it has a little wall around it for security. I thought walls were racist. I guess not. So I think President Obama should take advice from another former president.
I don't think it's good for the country to have a former president undermine a current president. I think it's bad for the presidency, for that matter.
And I totally agree.